Perfect.
Thank you, Markus, for coming here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Taking the time to be with us today. Our podcast is somehow about architecture, but we are somehow open. We invite everyone who has a say, or everyone who has wants to share something.
Okay, good.
So I've seen a little bit on the website because Gjerji Dushniku introduced me to you today.
Okay.
And I've seen your studio before, and I wanted to maybe know a little bit more about the history, because I think it's very inspiring. Having so many projects working on so many different levels of architecture. I think you're also an engineer.
Correct.
Yeah.
So where to start? So firstly, probably I can tell you something about my person. So as you mentioned, my name is Markus Neuber.
Yeah.
I'm the managing director, as you say, from our architectural office in Landshut, or the main base is in Landshut in the south of Germany, nearby Munich. And as you mentioned, I studied engineering in Munich with my, the main topic was project management and site management. But after a year working in this particular thing, I saw that this is not the thing I want to do. So I started to want to also be in the creative process. So I started working more or less as an architect, but it took me, I think, more than 10 years then also to become officially an architect. So in 2012, since 2012, I'm a member of the Architects Chamber in Berlin. And now, so I'm an architect also. But working a long time in this topic, you get deeper and deeper in it. So the office itself was founded from my father-in-law, Peter Leinhäupl. He founded it back in 1977, so more than 40 years ago, or better on the other way, 2 years after I was born. So a long time ago. And on 2008, my wife and me went in the office, and we managed the second generation of the office. And since then we founded ALN like it's today. We are still all three in charge of the office. That's it so far from the office. So
it's very interesting because I've always heard architect that from the challenges that they had from being an architect who wanted to execute something, and from example engineer was not allowing them to do something they tried to learn engineering also.
Yeah.
But you did the contrary.
Yeah, somehow you can say so. But also my wife and me, we were studying together. She as an architect, I'm as an engineer, and we started together in the same time, and more or less we did both studies parallel or in parallel. So I was quietly involved in her stuff and the other way around. So more or less we did both things.
I understand. So if you are in the ecosystem of that
already
kind of environment, you kind of know everything about what it's like. Great. So I saw that your team is very diverse. You have a lot of skilled people in different kind of professions. How is this helping you somehow in
The office started back then as a classical architectural office practice, and then you do your first hospital, and then someone asks, okay, who is doing the landscape for the hospital? And then there is no one, and so we started also do the landscape, and we became quite good in this things also. So we had some landscape architects in our office. Then we added the urban plan, we added interior design, so that we can come from the very big scale, from the urban plan down to the particular house, and then we plan always from inside to the outside. So we all need these different specialists in the office. Additionally, of course, we have some engineers who do the site execution or the site management. So also these guys are in our office. So this is why we became like this growing structure and became this different fields of more or less architecture.
I understand. Following this kind of idea, I from kind of 1 year I had this conversation with one of my friends in one of the bars that we go here all the time, and kind of like he was like explaining to me that as the office was growing, his office was growing, a lot of tasks he was losing somehow. The touch of the main architect in every sector of every department that you're in. I wanted to have like your opinion, because I know that somehow you having having a small office is being promoted in social media, on in every kind of platform, that it's kind of it's the new way how small firms with 4 or 5 people are like being focused more on the project, and they are just marketing this idea maybe. But very big studios, for example, are not like kind of having an I didn't hear an opinion about this. Maybe I was just interested in your
About the way presenting the office on social media.
No, I was curious about becoming an office with a lot of professionals, a lot of employers, and you that are the main architect, if you can follow every process, or are you in the process of everything?
More or less, yes. The topic is that, of course, you have to organize somehow your company, your office, your branch. So we have in our office, we have like teams working on projects, and the team, of course, has a team leader, and the team leader is more or less reporting to us, or we sit together with the team and the team leader for an appointment, one meeting, and one discussion on the topic. So you don't lose the touch to the project because you are always involved. Of course, if the office gets bigger and bigger, so now we have almost or around 60 people in the office. So we have, I don't know, ongoing projects, 20, 30 probably. So it's quite, of course, hard to be really in particular in every specialty of the project. But it was growing slow. It was not from one day to the other. So it was like over the last 15, 20 years becoming as big as we are now. And you have the experience, what is running, where is it not running, where are the problems, where are the difficult things, so you can give people advices in advance that they have to look about the one or the other problem, and be aware, so we don't make the same mistake probably a second time. So we are still in.
What about so this is like going in a in a way a conversation about me asking being curious about your studio. I really like the design. You're kind of like you're working more, as I saw in the kindergarten schools,
Mm.
um,
More into public projects
public
than private ones, yes.
private
Hmm.
public projects. Um, so is this very a process that you kind of like approached since the beginning, or is like evolving in this?
No, we always in the whole history of the office there were, of course, public projects and but also private ones. We still do private ones, but right now there is so much work on the public sector. And you know, to be honest, the discussions about getting paid or not is on the um, public ones less than on the private ones. Sometimes, sometimes the private ones are not so easy clients. But also the difference is that we want to build or we want to design for the people, for the users working in these houses or the students going to school there. So this is our main focus, and these projects for us are interesting. So this is why we are going for it more and more. But we still do some residential things, of course, and we do some private office buildings, for instance, also. But the main topic is, as you mentioned, from the kindergarten, elementary schools, secondary schools, and then the hospitals, of course, everything for health in the health sector.
Understand. Uh, I wanted to ask you also about this kind of project after they are implemented. For example, here in Tirana, we have very new projects that are being implemented, and they kind of like look very old after 2 or 3 years. How do you manage to have like a uh, to have like a is this a point of about maintenance, or it's more about a point about executing with the good materials, or
Could be, but I think mainly it's maintenance, because if something, when you maintain it well and constantly, it looks good. But of course, it's also the detailing of a project. If for instance, if it's clear where the water is going, then you will not see any dirt washed down the facade, for instance, or these things. So I think it's both. It's maintenance, and on the other hand, of course, the details. Yes.
details. Um, you've been in Tirana since since Monday, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was here before in 2014 or 2015, I think.
mhm.
Yeah, and now since Monday.
uh, how was how was did you see any change when from the last time you were here? Or
I think chaos is getting bigger in terms of traffic and traffic jams. Probably this is my inspiration or my what I'm seeing. And of course, the city is extremely growing in every direction. So you have like the new stadium. Since then, I watched the last official soccer game in the old stadium, the Albanian team against Georgia, and then they were tearing it down. Now the new stadium already is there for quite a while. And back then in 2014, I think it was, we did this competition here for the student city, so for the dormitories of the students. And back then, in that time, it was like the city almost was over after the dormitories and also the park, and now big houses are growing into the park, and I don't think if this is really the best idea you can have for the town. But obviously there's the pressure. You need more or less these big buildings, I think. I don't know, but this is what you can see if you go through the
yes,
town.
somehow it's like a necessity to kind of like make the line that defines the city with the park like definitive, like having just new buildings and then creating a line of new with old.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of right that maybe the park could get bigger while the city. This
Yeah.
is a discussion of
Yeah, yeah. And the next thing is today we were walking around the city center and we went up the new boulevard. So this was also new for me that
Yep.
there's this new boulevard, and I think this is will be the next extension of the city, more or less the city center, like from the main square out the boulevard. Will be interested how it will develop.
yeah, there's a lack of maybe public services
Hmm.
attached to there
Hmm.
that can bring like a more so it needs more facilities. Maybe it's like uh, in Tirana we say to each other that if you buy some house, it's there is very far, or it's
Hmm.
like so where going, or it's like kind of a mentality right now that it has to overpass being far or being
Yeah, distances or these things is what I'm seeing is there is almost no public transportation also. So I think also these things should be really thought of. We have to fight for our planet, and we have this ecological problem. And I think right now Tirana is everything is based on the private car. So there is almost, of course, there are
yeah
going buses, but it's not really cool to go on a bus. But it's also not cool to go with a car through the town because there's constant traffic jam and chaos. So I think all these new settlements, all the development, it would be really good if there would be a good opportunity or a good alternative for the people in this town not traveling by car anymore. So I think this is one thing that people should think of here.
maybe alternative transport could be
Yeah.
the future. um, I had the opportunity to work on the bike grid
Hmm.
project. Uh, we have now a bike grid in the center of the city that is kind of it's okay. It connects some points from A to B,
Hmm.
and it's GIZ, I think,
Hmm.
the German institution
Hmm.
for development. They were like showing increased number of bike users
Hmm.
because they have put like a sensor in every bike lane, and it's like becoming a peak there. It's always increasing.
Okay.
It's always increasing the number of bike users right now.
Yeah, but there's still, I think, a lot to do in bike lanes. Sometimes they end quite. You don't think now it's ending, but it comes to a dead end, and then the bikers have to go on the street again
Yeah.
or wherever, and also the misuse of bike lanes. I was seeing like quite good and big motorcycles on the bike lane. This should not happen.
They have
But
found a new highway for,
yeah,
for them.
correct. So I think this there's quite a way to go, but you have the good thing here is of course the climate, that you have it most of the times warm and it's
Yeah.
not raining every day, and so it's really nice to go with the bike here. So I
Yeah.
think
And
more
it's very
people,
flat, I think.
yeah, exactly. And so it's nice to bike here. So I think there will be more increasing numbers of bikers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we have um, we have um, also oh, we are trying to fight the opportunity for the buses to have their own special road, because
Hmm.
here the bus goes directly into the in the road where every car is getting stuck. And
Hmm.
I think that's like something that will happen in 2 years, maybe, that
Mhm.
we will have like a dedicated bike lane, bus lane for the center of the city. And because I think the traffic, the transport is like crucial in kind of a city that's
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think we have to think it in a broader, in a wider way. I think we have to mm, give space, organize it new, the whole thing. Probably if the cars can be reduced, because it's way simpler to go on a bus or on a bike or whatever. And I think it would be nice to reorganize the whole system, the whole space, because the streets are wide, um, more or less they are wide, so we can put there something for pedestrians, or even a nice green bike lane or something like this with trees that you're protected from the sun, and get more green into the city. And then, of course, if there are less cars, then you probably the bus does not need a dedicated bus lane anymore, because less cars are going anyway. So, but of course, in the first step, it could be a possibility to have a good bus transportation, when you know, or if you know that the bus is coming on a certain time and you need a certain time to go to your aim or to your goal. So right now the bus is like blocked from every car, so it does not run properly. So this is not really fun to go by bus in here. We did it quite a time now this
Yeah.
week.
Uh, what about? I wanted to ask you, because it's like a very huge topic in Tirana. But for example, if you came by car here, there's a road with very small villas. They are
Mhm.
being demolished to give place to a new development. So it's not a matter of should we protect them or should we not, or it's. Do you have like a limited number of objects that you can protect in a city, or do you have just like so how
I
it's
think this is
organized?
this is a really hard, or yeah, this is a hard question, because I cannot really give advice, because I don't know not so much about your town. But um, one thing is, we all have to be sure that our history is somehow still there. It's recognizable. So all the new settlements here, or the high-rise buildings, they look like these buildings look all over the world. So there's no special Tirana house anymore. So if there is a specialty, I think you should protect some of them, at least, to show also the next generations, okay, this is where we are coming from. And to be true, these old houses they function quite well. Okay, they are not 30 stories high, but they are really small. But as a house, they work quite well. And the density is not so high because of the missing levels, but for sure they worked good back then. But now it's different. The town is, I don't know how big now, and it's growing from year to year. And of
Yeah.
course, the pressure getting new apartments is quite high. So of course, I don't think there is a number to say, okay, you have to be at least 10% of the old houses should be refurbished and not demolished. But I think you need some of them to show the upcoming generations where the country is coming from. What is
Yeah.
the history,
Yeah.
and what is the culture?
Of course. I just I was thinking one day that for example in New York, when they tried to make a movement about preserving some of the buildings
Mm,
of New York, uh, they had people like protesting about what was being demolished, and other people who were protesting about new developments. So they had like a crash, and they had the mood in the town was like not so good, because they had like different feelings about different things, and they kind of like decided to protect, for example, a certain number that all the parties would be like
Okay with.
would be okay with that,
Mm.
and then go from that point, like continue with changing the city in different.
Yeah, but what does it help if you have like one last house standing? And you also need somehow like the settlement, the whole settlement. So you need various houses. So you see the different typologies of old houses,
I understand.
and then you have like how they work together. So you understand it. But if you only have like one here, then you have like a big block of housing or office, and you have, I don't know, on 300, 400 meters far, the next one, you don't understand how they fit it together and they work together. So I think you cannot take one or two. You have you need some
like a
some
lot.
yeah, but then
Not a lot, but
yeah, but
certain.
at the end, the danger is, of course, that you have some kind of Disney World or like museums park where you have old houses. So this is not so. This is why I said it's not an easy or simple question to answer. What is the right way? I think we have to preserve our history, our culture, and it has to be seen.
I see. Do you think that this kind of houses, that they were like working with each other, like you mentioned, that it's a very great idea, like you cannot have just one, or in some monuments you can have one, but
Yeah, probably.
in a settlement who has a value as a whole, not as a specific
Yeah.
unity, it's like it's like, as you said, you need the whole, but can you recreate somehow this from plans, or from things that you have, or
So you mean that you try to build somewhere else the new one, or like no? Or,
like in some places we have, for example, you have two, but other three
okay.
are like very destroyed, and you cannot like have them as
Okay,
they are. You need to.
but you want to rebuild them somehow.
yeah,
Of course, you can do. The problem in the whole thing is that you need the craftsman who can work like the people back then worked. You need the material. You need the right bricks. Probably you need the right woodworkers. To have it properly fitted, and I think this is the big problem we have now also with heritage buildings. The problem is that there are any longer people who really can work with the material as the material was like back then. So of course you can rebuild it. I think it will take time, but and cost money. But at the end, for sure, it's possible. But you have to find the right people, have fun working with the ancient, not but the old material, like brickwork with a certain plaster and wood and windows. You have to someone really a carpenter doing these wooden windows. Like they were back then.
Yeah.
Everything else would be Mickey Mouse, I think.
Funny architecture.
Yeah. And you will not understand it.
Yeah.
People won't understand it. Okay, now they did something looking old, but is new.
Kind of newish.
So, yeah.
I was trying to think about if you are going to have an interest in building something in Tirana in the next couple of years, maybe.
You never know. Interest is here of course, for sure, but it has to happen. Sometimes you have to push your luck a little bit. Of course, if you are doing nothing, sitting at home, nothing will happen, for sure. But it's not our way to go now here, come here to a different country and going aggressively for a project. For sure, everyone is dreaming, or some of architects are dreaming, building a high rise would be nice, or like you don't have a train station anymore in the town, so this also would be a nice project, a train station.
I think there is a lot for a new lot for a new train station.
But not in the town, not in the city center anymore.
It's like in the
Periphery.
in the periphery
Yeah.
where you immediately take the highway to
Yeah.
Durrës.
Yeah. So it also would be nice also to have probably a small train station in the town, going outside to the main station and then go further on. So I think this would be a nice project. Even also building a school here or hospital would be nice, of course, but you know, I don't see it now. But for sure, if someone comes and says, "Come on, let's do it," then we wouldn't say no, of course.
Of course. Do you have an idea about what's going to happen in, or what do you feel that's going to happen in architecture after the COVID kind of era ends in a way, or merges with the way we're going to be in the future?
Firstly, I think COVID is still not over. If I look at home, the numbers in Germany are increased like drastically. So we call it, this is the fourth wave now. I think it's still not over. I do believe that we do not go into lockdown anymore, because like almost 70% of the people are vaccinated. So, but the way of working already changed through the last 18 months. What we see, we went while lockdown, we went in home office. Everyone was working from home, and one thing we see, people do not want, or not all of them do not want to come back to office every day. And I think this is okay, because now they can organize their life at home better, and then we have now all the technology that they can work from home, so they don't have to come every day. Of course, we want to interact. The socializing aspect in the office is also very important, and the direct discussions about problems and about design ideas is good and needed. So due to that, we go still to the office, but not all of us. In the field of architecture, and if we do our designs differently, I think yes and no. Yes, of course, I think we are more aware of spaces, of corridors. Probably they don't have to be so narrow anymore, and give back more place to corridors, and even probably use them in a different way, so for socializing aspects, and good views to the outside, or even to the inside. So I think this is some part who could probably change or be changed after having this experience. But the main thing I think we have to change is that we cannot discuss with nature. So nature is not discussing with us. Nature is not postponing things. Nature is just giving new boundaries to us, and new rules, and new, I don't know how to say, but borderlines we cannot cross, or we want to push, but we cannot. So I think this is what we learned. So the virus, this small little thing, came up in a few weeks, and the whole world stopped. And I think this is what we have to be aware of. This can happen in a more or less different or same way soon. The next thing is that the ongoing destruction of nature and our climate and everything is the next discussion, and I think this is the point where we have to look at fast.
I think you mentioned also in the beginning that climate change is one of the main discussions that's happening right now. For example, I was coming before at the studio, and it was like a a very hot wind, like in November. It's
Yeah,
like
right now we have 24 degrees
yeah,
outside. So
yeah,
it's 6 o'clock in the evening
yeah,
in November.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's not really typical for Tirana also.
No, it's not typical. It should be like a little bit cold.
Half,
Yeah,
12 degrees,
yeah,
probably. Yeah. So I don't know if this is an effect of climate change. I don't know. Probably it is. It will be. But I think now working with the students at Polis University this week, I was asking them if they know of, for instance, the movement of Friday for Futures. I don't know if you know it, and if Greta Thunberg is a name for them. So, and I was not really shocked, but I expected everyone is saying yes, of course we know, and we know what to do and everything. But there was like most of the guys are not really aware what the problem is, and yeah, I think they are the next generation's architects, and they can change, affect a big change in their country, in their city, and for the environment. So I think we have to tell them that there is something they have to be aware of.
yeah. Also, I was kind of seeing in the summer. It was like uh, it was very dirty in the coast. It was like no one was respecting neither the rules of COVID, neither the rules of like taking care of nature and
Yeah.
living as leaving a place as you find it. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I don't want to shout at anyone or to say, okay, you are all making the wrong thing. I'm coming from Germany. We have an extreme output of CO2, so we don't have
yeah,
to complain or tell anyone what to do. So firstly, we have to get our things done. But what you can see around the world, and the ignorance of the people, yeah, dealing with nature, dealing with the environment, throwing everything away, using plastic all the time. Still, even African countries now understand that the plastic is a problem, but we still use it. I think it's the plastic bag is now banned last year in 2020 in Germany. So where do we live?
Yeah.
So we have internet, we have all access to every information we need. So I don't know, or I cannot see why the people are not using these possibilities and start acting and trying to do something.
Yeah, it's in Tirana, for example, we're trying to push this on many levels, from the use of a bike, from use of like bags with different materials, not plastic, and we're but it's I think it's very difficult because it's like a way of how we've been all these years. It's like very difficult to change it with
Of course. And I think it's a good point would be to start in education. So the small kids can be formed. If I think back like 40 years before I was in first grade, they learned us that we have to divide the trash. We have to put the paper in this basket and the plastic in this basket, and then our old banana in this basket. So now it's totally normal for us, and it's if I come here, for instance, and I see that like dividing the the trash is not really the most thing here is happening. So people just put it in a big trash can and everything is okay. So I say, okay, why is it so hard to do this? But of course they were not taught to do this. So I think education is the thing we have to be in, and where we have to start the journey.
Markus, thank you very much for for sharing
Okay.
some times with us. I think I don't
Sure.
know if you have some social media we can share the
Yeah, of
podcast with
course.
you. Or
Yeah.
for example, our podcast is going on YouTube or
Mhm.
in Spotify, but without the video, just
Okay.
with the audio, so you can just listen to it.
Okay, cool.
Thank you again. I hope
Thank
it
you.
was a good experience for you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.